Okay, thank you.
Good evening. It is 5:30, May the 5th. I'd like to open the Board of Architecture Review meeting. Present is Tom Birmingham, Rob McQuilkin, and William Mincy, myself, Christopher Gow, acting as chair, as Stephanie Rinser, our chair lady, is absent this evening. So the first on the list is the Ramoses, but they are not present.
No, they're not.
So we go to the Vanham Properties. Like to come up?
Okay.
So we met a few months ago now.
Yes, I know.
Right.
I'm an architect, Irene Ayoshi, and this is our site engineer.
I'm Bill Johnson
Bill
with
Johnson.
Sparaco Youngblood. I'm senior staff engineer, not a PE. My boss is the PE. He's like my nephew.
So tell us then, you did some testing of the soil and all of that.
Yes.
So get us up to speed of those tests, the implications and the
exactly.
changes that you've done to.
Exactly. Yeah, we actually did a little bit more talk after this, and anyway, so when yeah, so I brought Bill actually because he did the testing of the property, and I thought that he probably would be the best to explain what the
Thank you,
findings
yes.
are. Yes, so
I didn't do the actual testing. Another geology company did the testing.
yeah,
I originally went out there with a contractor to just do some deep hole tests and dig. And when we walked out into the low area, I took a rebar and just stuck it in the ground 2 feet without any work. I mean, so I knew it was muckland. I'm familiar with muckland. I was deputy commissioner of public works for the city of Middletown for 29 years, and they had
Uh-huh.
black dirt within the city that I had to put sewers through and whatnot. So I'm familiar with it. The report came out that it's 6 to 11 feet deep, and the muck is all in this scribbled area here. It's the whole middle of the property. In order to build on it, you'd have to remove hundreds and hundreds of yards, maybe thousands of yards of material. And then you'd have to dewater while you're doing it. And you would have to backfill with good fill and bring it up in stages and compact it. It's a very, very, very costly operation. Rough figures, $500,000 or more just to do that part of it. There's also pipes crossing the property, a sewer pipe that runs from over here through to a manhole here, and we think it goes over to this manhole here. We're not even positive of that. The only map we had from the village said there was a line going this way. And when I went out there and met with the man, I'm terrible with names. I can't remember his name, but he pointed this way and said, it goes over there. And I, okay. So
Is this a sanitary line or?
it's supposed to be a
storm, you know?
sanitary line. Now, there's also a storm sewer line that runs
uh-huh.
in the property. We are not positive which direction the flow is because there's catch basins on the road up here and over here and over here. And we know that they somehow get into this. Currently, the water is flowing this way, but previous plans we had showed that the pipe size changes to a larger size over here, meaning it goes this way.
Right.
Chances are, because these are built in the muck area, that these have settled. So that's why it seems like it's flowing that way. This is also like a sponge. With all the rain we've had, there's no water on the surface of the muck. It's in the ground. It's absorbed. But you can't do anything there. And I don't even recommend trying to relocate this anywhere in the muck land if you had to. So it being in the middle of the property, Irene had originally done a plan with the building in the middle of the property, not knowing how poor the soil is. So besides this sketch, I did another couple of sketches that maybe there's a possibility we could utilize this opening in the wall here and make a nice driveway and build outside of the muck. We still don't know for sure what the actual margin is. I'm using this 580 contours as a margin, but we're not even sure that that's the actual margin of where the muck land is.
You haven't been tested over here then?
We've not, we stopped immediately when I found out there was muck where originally they wanted to build the house. and
This
I
is
said,
within the gateway overlay, so it's subject to 150-foot.
That's why we are
That's
here
why we're
talking
here.
to you guys, because what Bill is showing like very roughly. So there's a very rough kind of possible
Location.
location here
Yeah.
or here. But we wanted to see if you even open to that, because we're talking about 50-foot setback, not even 75, it's 50.
And that's not
Here.
even a question for us. That's part of the code, isn't it? I mean, that's,
The code is
Oh, it's a zoning
75
ordinance?
without overlay,
Yeah,
but with
the-
overlay it's 150.
correct, and that is as it is. I mean,
So that's a zoning question.
Yeah.
yes.
But 150 is this line, right? Like, so this is a small area where we could put the house. This is what 150 is. That's exactly
It's
where
right in the middle of the
that's
mark.
exactly where the mark is. So we are in a situation that we.
Well, can we talk a little bit about the other approach of putting caissons in?
Well, the whole thing is, even if you put piles in,
Yeah.
this land is going to settle no matter what.
Mhm.
The piles will hold up the house. But
That's
anything you do
insufficient.
around the house is going to be settling unless they tear out soil and
And you
put the
can't
soil in.
use caissons in any built area, including the driveway or pilings.
You can, but every time you use piles, it's a very expensive
It's very
option.
expensive.
And-
It's gonna be-
Presumably less
And you would
expensive,
need to bridge from pile to pile
right?
in order to support a driveway.
Steel or something, or, right?
Reinforced concrete or steel,
What would the expense be relative? You said 500,000 for the earth moving.
just to move the
versus-
earth and fill it in.
So what would the pilings run you if
Well, it
you,
depends on how far into the
and what-
property you
yeah,
allow us to
exactly.
build.
Mhm.
It depends on how many piles you actually need. That would have to be determined by a geotech guy and the architect structural engineer,
also
because
with a driveway, a certain amount of settling over years that can be kind of addressed and mitigated periodically with.
but it would be a continuous problem.
Right.
Well, another problem is that landscaping is very difficult.
Mhm.
That's, and I know how villages really want to.
This
to
area
do
will not
beautiful-
support trees the way it is. The muck is, it's
So
not gonna
that's another
support any kind
question
of trees.
for the
You'd have to
board.
put
is,
swamp
yeah,
bushes or something in
Yeah.
there.
Right.
It
What would
was
you-
always a garden, right? The house had never sat on this piece of property. We know that from history,
Right.
right?
Well, there are a
It
lot
was
of.
Alexander Garden, right?
Right.
Right.
So in the meadowlands, I mean, I think historically there were a lot of conifers. There were cedars, I think.
It could have been
But-
cypress or something
Yeah,
like
that were, I mean, there are things that can handle just this kind of.
There are
of
plants you
land.
can use, but generally trees won't be supported by this soil.
But I mean,
It's,
those swamp cypresses, you know,
not every swamp is this kind of muck. There's all different kind of muckland. Like I said, I took a rod and just went like that and pushed it down. Are you familiar with Pine Island? It's all black dirt.
but I
That
think,
black dirt goes down forever.
so, you know, what you say is, you know, understood, like the actual wetland area is really in the center.
Yes.
The house would go, but I think it would be impossible to build so close to the road in such a public area in the gateway area, but you could absolutely plant, you know, in this area that's a little bit less fraught with any kind of, you know, thirsty tree. I mean, I think there are trees that could even survive in this area, but certainly over here.
Mhm.
And that's where you'd be doing
There
the
are
screening.
swamp trees like swamp willows and things like that. The problem is swamp willows, their roots go, if they find a pipe, they fill the pipe. And I have a lot of experience with willow trees in Middletown that caused problems. We had a pipe that had over 300 feet of root in it, and it was fully packed with root. And it was a large pipe, like 36 inch. It was very costly. It was in backyards and we couldn't spend the time to dig it up. We had guys literally crawl in that pipe and cut roots forever with a vacuum behind them just to throw the roots in.
There were trees on this property that were cut down. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly where they were.
And even now, there's a
Now,
huge spruce.
Everything outside of the 580 contour, which is where the edge of the muckland, I'm guessing is, you could probably plant trees. You could, if you had the house 50 feet off the road, you could do a beautiful screening job where you wouldn't even see the house over time. But putting the house down on this muck is very costly and it's a hardship. It's a hardship for the owner who probably was not even aware that it was a muckland when he bought the property.
So so you're proposing that because of that problem, you're requesting to place the house either there or there as two options?
In a relationship that we can work with, maybe we can elongate the house so it's not as close to the front setback or, other things. Maybe a portion of the rear of the house could be in the muck with some piles. But to go ahead and put the house right in the
Right,
center of the
that's
muck is.
Have you thought of another location, another site there's a lot of, I know he owns this property, but is that an alternative to put the house somewhere else, or does he want it to?
Well,
it's-
they own the land and they want to build on this land,
it's
and not
problematic
where,
land,
yeah,
right.
that's a problematic land.
So,
yeah.
I mean, as my colleague said, yeah, it's not our decision about the variance for this. We can opine on it, whether we, as the Board of Architecture, aesthetically, we'd be happy with the house near this special gateway overlay. Personally, I wouldn't be very happy with a new house so close to the road in the gateway overlay. That's my
It's a
opinion.
very trafficked road too.
What are your? what
Well,
are
I
my-
agree with you. This is a heavily trafficked road. I think that the house aesthetically should be set back further than 50 feet. I mean, just, but
Currently,
again, we don't have that
this
authority.
drive is used for the adjacent house.
Yeah.
And we don't even know if there's an easement actually over it or not, but it
Yeah,
is
there is.
located out here.
You'd have to get a sharing arrangement.
No, I think there is an easement.
I think
was-
you own
yeah.
that driveway,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they have the.
Oh, that's probably
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they have you graciously allowing them to
the-
use it.
Subject to a right of way, okay, there is. I didn't
Mhm,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
realize
yep,
that.
yep.
What do you guys think about?
surveyor
a
did
house
this-
so
did this
close
best.
to the road?
Yeah, I mean, Tower Hill would be a better situation, I think.
Like to be here.
Maybe we could catty corner it or something, maybe possibly, well, this is very steep in here. I don't even know if it's rock or not, right in there. But, so we couldn't relocate the road further over, I don't think, without a lot
The
of.
hill comes down quite sharply there.
Yeah, it does, yeah, it does.
But the house right up here, the OT house is.
That's right.
Right.
That would be more in line with the,
And
as
that's
a
why I
location
suggested
than
this
right
too,
here.
because you have a staircase right here, you could make that the front entrance of the house even, but,
This isn't a great driveway location either.
No, it seems.
Entrance,
Perilous.
an entrance way. It's just the traffic on that turn there.
well, I
Tends
sat
to
with my
get-
truck right there.
Yeah.
And the cars seemed to have no problem. I was on the edge of the road, with the wheels and everybody seemed to go by fine.
I'm
And it's a
thinking,
wide
I'm thinking
section
at
of road
night.
there.
I'm thinking at night.
Understood, understood.
But anyway,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, and the view coming in here, once,
Oh, that's good,
the
but-
nice, the beautiful drawings you did of the front and the back of the house are great, but you wouldn't really see that because we'd be here. When everyone's driving up here, what we see, the first thing is the garage and the cars and that sort of funny sort of opening of the roof to have the windows. So
I mean, I guess
So it's
my
not-
feeling is you did a great design. We were really excited about this Neo Voisey. You did a masterful job. We were very enthusiastic about it. The new iteration was even more becoming than the earlier one. And I think,
I listened to you, I did.
well, you did such a beautiful job. And I think there's no one here that wouldn't sign off on that, properly cited right there. I guess my own point of view would be, it's an unfortunate site. I think there is a certain buyer beware. I mean, I'm not quite sure when you say they didn't understand. I think it clearly was sort of wetland, but I mean, I think build the house where you proposed, and yes, that will be expensive, or sell it and find another property and take that beautiful design and put it there's no shortage of land that can be built on here. If this proves too onerous, says one member of a 5 member board. I would not build there. I think it's kind of open and shut, but I don't think these other solutions are practical in terms of the existing zoning code and how incredibly public this is. How, yes, it's the traffic in any part of this village. It's not terrible, but this is about as contested as you get in the village. And I think citing a driveway where you propose, I think that is not ideal. And I simply think it is such a public area that it would be a real shame to address the buildable, problems by shoving it onto the road. I would sooner just have you take that great design and find a place that wants a house there.
Yeah, I mean, I wish our clients were here.
got lost.
Yeah, they got lost.
Oh, they were.
I realize,
They were here on the site.
we
Yeah.
realize that's not your call to make, and frankly,
Yes.
the zoning issue isn't our call to make either.
Yeah.
We're just giving you some thoughts here as to what, the value of either of those locations would bring, I think, to where we see it from a aesthetic point of view.
The other item is that understood that Orange County doesn't have a zero net increase in runoffs statement, but the DEC does if we disturb more than an acre of land. The further we go into the property, the more we disturb.
Yeah.
And then we have to mitigate, and then that's another issue.
And it's not a problem, so as you alluded to before, so that's gonna go away. I mean, it's not, you're gonna even raise it up, you're still gonna have slab problems potentially down the road, right?
I've seen it too many times, and I've seen houses that were built right on the edge of muckland, and you could see the roof,
Wow.
the ridge going
Yeah, no,
down.
even commercial.
I went to look at a house to buy one time, and you could put a ball anywhere on the outside wall of the house, and it would roll to the middle.
Yeah, I
You know?
used to work in the industrial side of things. I saw many a warehouse with the same problems,
Mhm.
roller coaster.
Yeah, one of the properties here, you go in the basement and there's a river running through it always. It's
Yeah, we
kind
need a
of,
sump pump.
yeah, it's,
yeah.
so, yeah, so that's our recommendation
Water in
for
My
you.
house would go in one side and out the other, but it doesn't. I had to pump it.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have
I mean,
actually a
that's
river
stream.
going underneath of my house.
Somebody just walked by. I don't know if it's them or not.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so,
Mr. Yurmansky just walking in.
oh, hi, Anatoly. Like,
That's
you
a
can just, yeah, this is Anatoly. He's one of the owners of this property.
Right.
So,
To recap, we're excited about the house, but we're very worried about the location. And relocating it nearer the road is not our decision. We're not the zoning, but we aesthetically feel uncomfortable, all of us, about having the house nearer the road. So we're suggesting buying another property in the park and building a house there.
Well, either doing what you need to do in terms of the engineering to build this beautiful design right where you proposed, but admittedly, that's another huge expense. Or finding an easier lot. I mean, but I don't think that, and I think my sort of chair members, board members agree. I don't think that approaching the road and shoving it onto the road is a viable
No, it's
option.
so
But
that's.
to reiterate, that's the board zoning approvals, board adjustment, but to answer your question on that.
It's their call.
So if the zoning board looked at it as a hardship and agreed that we could build it up toward the road,
They technically are empowered
Yeah,
to
that's-
issue that kind of a variance,
we
John, aren't
talked
they? I
about
mean,
this, that it's expensive option. It's a hardship on your side to put it here.
so the architectural review board, then if we presented a plan with the house closer to the road that was
Yeah,
approved as a
absolutely.
variance,
Yeah.
what would this board have to say about that?
I think we'd have to look at what was designed, and if it worked in the new site as well as it would work back here. I think we can't do that in a vacuum.
We might have additional thoughts about screening and ways of mitigating,
Right.
but I think if you were issued such a variance, right, John, I mean, that would stand, even if it is something as serious as the gateway overlay.
How,
Well, I also don't want to overreach the planning board also has a lot to do with this. The planning board has to come up with the maximum buildable envelope first. So they're also heavily involved in where the house generally gets located.
So you have
And
to
then,
get the
and then,
variance
and then the Board of
then-
Architecture review the more
Right.
specifics, including landscaping and such.
So basically you need to go ahead from all three boards, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, you definitely need a variance if this is something that BZA wants to consider.
Mhm.
So is the process that we present it to the planning board first and then they give us a approval to go to the ZBA, or they say, no, you can't even build it?
I've spoken to the planning board chair, and I think he's kind of documented that it's really a BZA decision at this point. The planning board does not want to waste your time or any money reviewing things that, don't work, regarding your engineering.
Okay, so we
So that-
could go directly to the ZBA then?
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
I think what you have to do is give me your plan, whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
I will deny it for whatever reasons, most likely setbacks. And then we will forward it to the BZA to see if they'll entertain, granting a variance. for
but
the-
what other materials they would like to see? Do we need to do additional boring tests and, what do we need to show them?
I would advise you to do boring tests on the rest of that site, just based on what you found here. This 580 line sounds like a good estimate. at
Get a
this point,
margin.
But get a real margin that is something you can rely upon. But that's your business.
And to answer your question about our involvement in the future, I would see very problematic, seeing, as I mentioned before, seeing the first thing of the house with the garage entry. That's what everyone would see first, and that's a shame, because that's the ugliest, well, the least beautiful part of the plan, and that's not what.
So you'd be more apt to look at this area here then?
Yeah.
Or not have a garage there.
Oh,
It's in the back somewhere. Yes, I mean, I'm gonna play architect here with you, but that's,
Yeah, but.
Well,
Yeah, go around the back, put
For
you in the
me, as
muck
an
again.
architect, like this, both
Understood.
locations, I don't really like to be so close to the road,
Right,
and
yeah,
I
That's the
mean,
problem.
that's the place where I wouldn't put the house.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of problems to solve with this, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
good luck with
I
that. And
just wanted to see your,
Of course.
your
Right.
opinion and see like what
Yeah.
your.
well, thank you.
We appreciate time. We'll come back with something.
is there any way you can go back to the main drive? I don't know where your 580 connects. Does it come off the page and comes back here? Is this the 580 that you're, the dash line?
580, yeah.
You keep mentioning the 580.
This dark line is the 580 line. And-
Okay, that's.
And
it
this
does
is
go- it does-
pretty
I think on
much.
this one-
Okay, because my.
It shows here, right?
No,
Like this
I
is-
got it.
So
I
we
got
are
it.
right
can
where,
see it.
where
It's
the
a dark
580
line.
line
Okay, I
is,
wasn't
yeah.
sure where these lines connected,
Yeah.
but they come off the page and come back on.
Yeah.
It
Right.
Essentially is.
And,
Major 580s.
yeah, and,
Well,
and
we
the
don't
re-
know that it comes back on.
and the
But
red-
If the ground falls off, or it all comes this way after that.
and the red line is where the 150 setback is. So we're
Yes,
right,
Well,
right
you're
where
act-
that
well, I was
one
gonna
is.
mention, you're actually, and I don't want to split hairs, but you're actually beyond it. The octagon there is actually less than,
Yeah. This
Well, it's at
is,
the edge of the 580.
yeah.
well, you need to show me that it conforms, otherwise.
Yeah, of course,
but,
yeah.
No, my suggestion was to pull it back to the road, but I didn't realize this 580 goes all the way around
Oh,
this
yeah.
huge piece. Because I think it might be better.
This
Better
whole
received.
area is muck.
Okay.
Mm,
I got you.
mhm, mhm.
And it's, like I said, 6 to 11 feet deep by their borings. It could be deeper in other spots.
Yeah.
So
6 to
my
11
thought
is
was the piles plus,
Yes,
plus
it is.
we dig out some of the bad soil for the driveway and for pipes that coming into the house, so they wouldn't settle. But,
Yeah, that would,
But the-
that would sound like the optimal solution if you build here on this
Right.
property.
right, But the contractor is saying that we're getting like constant flow of water into this property and.
Right.
and
Yeah.
And the
he's
engineers
very-
noted that too in here.
And he's very concerned about that.
Oh,
I mean,
The pilings
if
are
you dug
insufficient.
all the muck out,
Yeah.
there would be a lake there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the muck is
absolutely.
now absorbing
got-
the water.
I read the
Say
report,
1
you
to
got
6
groundwater
feet
there.
of
You got-
water. I
Oh,
mean, it's,
definitely, yep.
Beyond mitigating, right?
yeah.
Fixing drainage system, because right now it doesn't work at all. It's supposed to help.
We don't even know if the drainage actually was going toward the lake
That's right,
previously. We don't know if those pipes are broken or clogged.
Definitely.
They easily could be, they're, right, more likely than not.
So
No, 100%.
another question maybe could be answered, that if we hired a company to investigate the piping where it goes across the road, if it goes into a neighboring property, how do we handle that?
Mm.
I mean, if that's the outlet going out toward the lake, how do we get a right to do that? Is there a town right, a village right, or anything for any of the drainage?
That's really a conversation you should have with the village board. I don't know.
That's
how
the
else to do it.
problem. We don't know if this ever drained that way and, or if it's going in another direction. The inverts of the pipes in the middle of the property seems like those manholes have settled
Right.
and they're lower than the outlet by the road.
So function completely of whatever was intended.
Yeah.
So it's a hole in the ground is what it is, and it is.
Well,
it's
good
not-
luck. Yeah, there's a lot of,
So which village board would
I
help
think
us?
somebody, if you want to investigate the
61-year-old
pipe, should
Brad Pitt.
write a letter to the village board and ask them for whatever you might want to ask for.
I was told by the gentleman that does the sewers that they don't want anything to do with the
The
drainage.
village engineer, he said that he doesn't really know anything about this, the storm piping.
That's what he said.
Yep.
But so we
okay.
can, but
So basically, the process is that John will deny.
Well, they have to submit a plan that they want
Once you
to.
Come up with our
Once
best
you
Come up with your
situation.
best situation.
That he can then deny, and then you go to the BZA.
Exactly. Okay. Good luck with that. Thank you.
And again,
Appreciate
we honor the work. I hope it gets built either here or elsewhere.
thank you.
Mr. Ramos, you're up. Applicant number 2.
How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you again.
So what happened then? Tell us what's going on?
When I bought the property, you probably
Yes, yeah,
noticed
go.
that Lookout Road has that steep headed towards my property.
Uh-huh.
And it started to sink there and because all the water runs from right to left, comes right across me.
started to see your driveway?
Driveway. So that front of that driveway,
Mhm.
right when I first bought the property, I put the blue stone there
Uh-huh.
to avoid it from sinking. Obviously, I did a concrete but I never finished it. And then John saw it and he's like, hey.
Yes, you need permission to do
I
that, yeah.
didn't know that initially when I first moved into the village. Oh, it's not 4 years ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, we need to make sure, spread the word, that everybody comes to the village. You know, they need to understand what the laws and
Oh,
codes
no,
are.
I
and,
knew
uh,
that
so
once
it's-
I bought 73. I mean, I think.
This goes way back, right?
This goes way back.
Right.
20 years.
When I purchased 73, I think I followed every rule and regulations with John regarding permits and so forth.
Mhm.
This one escaped me, so I do apologize. It was.
So the proposed photograph, this is another property altogether, right? Or,
Yeah, that's right up that's my neighbor.
oh, okay,
So this is me
Right.
existing,
right.
and I just got to finish the ends off and just flare it out.
Flared out, right?
Just flare it out a little bit just for aesthetics.
And then it becomes gravel similar.
And then the rest on the sides is gravel, grass.
And flaring out, the edges are not raised, they're
No,
flush.
they're flush.
Right.
They come flush with the black top.
Mhm. Up here, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's something, yeah, I would definitely approve it. I would prefer to approve it beforehand and
Oh,
but.
And I agree. I'm with you
Uh,
100% there.
but,
Again, I do apologize for not knowing some of those things initially.
So you'll flare it out, it'll have this sort of perpendicular kind
So
of
you see
edging.
how,
Is that right?
so this is this way.
Second page,
Oh.
just there. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna go, so you see how it's horizontal?
Mhm.
Then I'm gonna go, I'll take that stone off
Mhm.
out of there and then I'll go,
Just like this.
just like
Yeah,
that.
great.
That's exactly, and just a little flare here, cause my property goes over a little bit to the right and I don't really have a lot to the left. I have a little bit there.
Mhm.
And just create just a finish
Is
flare
this
there.
the Thompson property? Is that?
That's right up the hill there,
Up
yeah.
above on the left, the modern house?
Yes.
Yeah.
The big house, no,
No.
that's the Circuit Road.
Freeling.
Oh, the
Ah,
Freeling,
okay.
Yeah, that's where I got the design from.
Great. I mean,
So the only other comment I would have is, so it's not so pronounced, not doing a
It's
quadruple.
not as pronounced
Yeah,
as
just-
his,
yeah,
obviously,
maybe a double or.
Yeah, double.
but it's gonna be
max,
two,
yeah.
yes, it's gonna be two stones.
That's better, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Good.
great.
And you won't have the sawtooth edge, that'll all be.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other comments?
No, looks great. This looks good.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve retroactively the driveway apron for 22 Lookout Road for Mr. Ramos, parcel 107-1-115. You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Got it.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay.
So, so Mr. Whitty, you're not on the agenda. We were expecting some more paperwork, but you're here. If you'd like to explain what developments you've made and
How's everyone doing tonight?
good yourself, wet,
Yes, it was a wet day today.
but you're used to that.
So we did do another drawing for you, so I have a copy for everybody.
Okay.
Kind of felt that you wanted to see some more of the actual plantings.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know that there was a requirement to submit, otherwise we would have. And then we just have some other paperwork that goes along with it as well.
Thank you.
You know, I've been in business, my name is Tom Smith, by the way. I'm the president of Garden State Board.
Okay.
We've been in business for 25 years in Warwick, since 2020. I'm sorry, 2000. We pride ourselves in building really natural looking water features. We probably have over 500 in Orange County that we built. And, you know, we try to mimic nature. You know, it's not, although it's man-made, we take great pride when people really think that, oh, you have a stream or a waterfall that all like is running on your property. That's what we want it to look like. And so I wasn't here for the first meeting, but Tim did fill me in on, you know, some of the concerns. This is a pondless waterfall. So the idea is that there's no pond, which when we deal with a pond, there's an ecosystem that we have to maintain, you know, pretty much 365 days a year. With a pondless waterfall, although there is some ecosystem, you know, typically it's not the same like a pond because there's no fish. And when we get fish involved, we're dealing with, you know, ammonia and then good bacteria that converts the ammonia in the nitrogen cycle. That doesn't happen here for the most part. And so although a feature like this will attract wildlife, things like pollinators, birds, it's not like a full ecosystem like a pond would be. We have changed the design so the system can run 365 days a year. So we increase the size of the basin. The basin is all the way here at the bottom. That's where our mechanicals are located. And then it's a recirculating system. It recirculates the same water over and over again. we are able to make it sustainable. There is a downspout that comes off Rich's roof line right off of this wall at the top here that can feed in here and make the system sustainable, meaning that it doesn't need to add water. There also is a drain here also where the water typically goes, we believe, from the downspouts. And I'm assuming that goes into the lake as well. And so our basin also will have an overflow into that same drain system. It's very close by. The plants I've put in here are all native. And it's both terrestrial, so outside the water, and then also inside the water. You know, some of the things we like to use are like bee balm, tick seed. There is some shaded area at the top where we can put some ferns, like a butterfly bush, or like not the actual bush, but a butterfly weed. We actually have 2 milkweeds in the design, and then a coneflower. Those are our plants that we're looking for outside. And then inside, we'd be looking at like blue flag, Lobelia cardinalis, forget-me-nots, pickerel rush, and then also another milkweed type butterfly. And then there's just some pages here that kind of explain and give you a cross section of what a pondless waterfall is and how it actually operates. And again, I don't build these water features. Tim builds the features now. He went to Pratt Design School, and so he has a fantastic eye working with rock. And I would challenge you, like, when this is complete, to stand in the backyard. There are no mechanicals visible. Everything is hidden, and it will look like Rich has a stream running through his property. Where there's,
Honestly, you guys heard everything that we asked and observed in the last meeting, and I think, speaking for myself, responded beautifully.
so I wasn't here, but Tim did.
But thank you, Tim, and this is really, I think, a huge enhancement to the original design, and it makes it something that is 100% positive from any angle, and will be helpful to the wildlife, even if it isn't a completely full.
It's not a complete ecosystem. And we agree, like, you know, that's, and listen, for baby boomers, what we're finding is they don't want to put in ponds, like even late baby boomers, early baby boomers, they want something that's a little bit easier to take care of. Where when you have the full ecosystem with fish, if you ever kept a fish tank before, there's a little bit more involved with it. Where this is not. And so it still gives you the sights, the sounds. It still has a lot of the benefits with pollinators.
And we'll have dragonfly,
Absolutely.
larvae, and frogs. And
It will.
so, I mean, it'll be a partial ecosystem.
It will.
I have a big problem with it, and I'm struggling with it with a great deal. And that, you know, Mr. Witt, you have such a beautiful site and a beautiful, you know, one of the best views of Tuxedo, of the lake, and in this naturalistic setting. And what you guys do is great, but I see it's so much more appropriate for an area that doesn't have already natural beauty. So the bar is very high for you to compete with what is beautiful here. Driving up Route 17, there was a gas station, and I saw a pondless waterfall, and you know, it was very nicely done, but it was just, you know, shouted out to me fake. So I'm thinking what Bruce Price, who was the original architect who created a Tuxedo Park and the architecture and the infrastructure, and was very much adapting the architecture to the landscape. And there's a phrase that he used was picturesque sham. And that's what I feel this is, that it's trying too hard and the bar is too high. I mean, I'm not criticizing you guys, but the bar is very, very high. And for me, it's just going to stick out like a sore thumb of trying to recreate nature. And we have nature all around us that's so high. So I'm not in favor at all of this type of, you know, artifice. I would be more favorable if there was already a water supply, natural water coming through, and you'd enlarge it to make a vernal pond, to make it, you know, because we're very much.
Typically by law, you can't touch those waters, right? Like we can't. And I would challenge you, like we're just looking at a piece of one-dimensional paper. Janet will sit in her office and be able to look out on this and see the cascading waterfall and have that view. And I understand there's not water that runs on the property now, but there could have been. And this will mimic what that would look like. And there is a view, like if you, from the top balcony, you can look out and see the lake. But this area here is generally not a great piece of land. And I walked the whole property looking at different spots and what could work. And the lay of this land with the contours and everything, it almost like it was made for it. There's like a spot there where really,
I have to say that my original take when I saw the plans and just on paper were more similar to what Christopher just, outlined. When I walked the property, I thought, this is crazy, actually, with the drop off. It kind of does make sense. And I guess, there's a lot of what Christopher says that I, totally support. I guess where we might diverge philosophically, just in terms of what we as board members do here, is I really do believe that, private property is private property, and and there's a wide range of discretion and choice and taste, and that is important for us to respect as well. So where I sit is how I come to these conversations is, okay, you're telling us what you'd like to do. And how can we, through good questions and sort of back and forth, improve it in a way that everyone walks away happy and that it is a net benefit? Or to the extent that there are things that are maybe not everyone would love, that's mitigated. So again, not to be a broken record, but I felt like it was a very productive conversation last time. And what I see here is a marked improvement. And so that is why even though I do tend to, in the abstract, endorse completely what Christopher is saying, in practice and with this application of Mr. Woody coming forward, I would look at this much more positively. But
Bill?
Yeah, well, I struggle with it because one of the finest houses Bruce Price ever designed was on the site. Bar Bay House, right? We're about to do an exhibition on his work. I do the sighting of it. It is. There's a step. I met Mr. Whitty. We walked around. I've walked this a lot with my dog. It is a natural kind of setting. I said before, I have a stream in my backyard. It just happened. Yeah, I bought this property and it's, I've got the real thing that floods and washes plants away, and there's a life there and everything. So the artificial, I agree with Christopher. I have a hard time with it. But and also, I'm torn because, I property rights or something. When I first came to we moved here, it was a round and around fight just to get a paint color. So I'm sort of split in half here, but I think you have made an effort.
and you know what our ultimate goal with this is?
Well, I'd like to finish.
Okay.
But you didn't follow through. We didn't get to see this until right now, which, I follow the rules. I'm an architect. I got to sit in front of boards. I got to submit stuff months in advance. So I don't really appreciate that. We haven't really had a chance to look at it. We're kind of on the spot having to make a decision, right? So I don't know what everyone else thinks. Are we good enough to vote on this tonight? Is that what we're doing? We're
just
not.
to be clear, I didn't assume that we were. I assumed that this was an informal, that because it wasn't scheduled, that this wasn't something we could vote on just now. Is that accurate, or?
We're supposed to have plans 10 days.
So
before.
I assumed that but we often have informal discussions, design progress meetings, and I sort of assumed, Billy, that's
Okay.
what I assumed it
Okay.
was.
It's
Because your point is well taken. That
Yeah.
would be, I don't think that would be
Right.
appropriate.
Yeah, I suppose I come down with, on the same side, as Robert. It's, to me, not a perfect plan, but rarely is anything perfect in this world. I think you've done a remarkable job improving on what you originally gave us, was it 2 weeks ago? I think it'll fit in the property nicely. It's private up there, no one's gonna be bothered from the viewpoint of neighbors and so forth. It's gonna be your own area. So I come down on the side of Rob here. I think it's not going back from.
There's one another aspect I'd like to address as well. I think you're saying you did some extensive drainage work on the property. Is that right, beforehand?
It was required that there was a stormwater management plan.
When they built the house.
And that's one of the issues I was just gonna bring up, that the roof leader that you keep referring to that will keep this moving. I don't like it when you alter a plan that was approved by the engineer and the stormwater management plan. And if you do connect it, there has to be something in our approval that, the water cannot exceed, your, the end of your pond. We don't want to see water anywhere near the road. You mentioned something about a drain. I don't know where it was.
So that meter dumps on the ground now, if I'm not mistaken.
Does it?
It does.
That's correct, yeah.
And then just adjacent to our basin is a catch basin. Great. So typically that's already exists.
It already exists, but it can handle the,
But what is it, where's that catch basin? Up at the wall height?
No,
Catch basin's right over here slightly.
On Mr. Willie's
Down.
property, at the level of the
but maybe
lawn.
but 3 feet up from the wall, I think, right? Like,
yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
It's upslope from the wall, but it's down towards the wall.
Well, my issue is that we do not want to see any more water shed off the property.
Right.
And I can be certain with you, if I gave this to our engineers, they would have a lot more to say about it. So,
Maybe requiring a bigger catchment basin as the ultimate
I don't know.
destination.
I don't know, we just don't want to see any water anywhere close to
Why
the
would
road.
there, like, so that
I
already runs that-
I don't know what the calculation is, nor is it my expertise the calculation of the water that comes off that roof and how much that's going to add to this.
Mhm.
And is it possible, with the water that you put in to start the system, and we get a couple heavy rains or a couple days in a row, is it possible it will, overflow the end of the system?
So there is an overflow on that system, and it's meant to go to that. So that if there is a heavy rain event, that water you won't see it, but it will end up
Yeah, we
in
don't.
that catch
I'm
basin.
just gonna mitigate all the roof that's coming down from the roof now. That flows
Well,
down.
right now, there's nothing to mitigate. However it ends up on the property, it percolates long before it gets to the road. And I just don't want to approve anything that's questioned.
Sure.
And, because I will get the phone call.
Yeah, that's a problem in the park. When the water systems, the natural water systems are messed around with or changed, inevitably there are problems. So we want to avoid that.
Yeah, you need to show the catch basin on your plan, at least show some connection detail, whatever you're gonna do. Because, talking about it is fine, but, it needs to be on a drawing.
That seems valid, and that sort of jibes with the original point, Billy, which is that like everything in due course. So this is very good as a design progress meeting. But in order for us to get to a point to vote on it, yay or nay, A, it has to be complete, and B, it has to be timely and submitted to John in a timely fashion.
Absolutely right. Is this winter basin, the 1,500 gallons, is that the overall basin that's forever?
That's the amount of gallons that basin will hold.
1,500 gallons.
And what's running through the pond in general? Do you have a?
Dynamic water is around 280 to 300 gallons.
Oh, okay. So you got
We have plenty, yeah.
plenty of room in that. Okay.
And dynamic water would be what's coming from the head all the way down in movement. And if you were to shut that pump off, 300 gallons would store then in the basin.
So the basin's kind of almost over-designed realistically.
Twice now we've over designed it, yeah. So on the last meeting, you've asked for it to be able to run through the winter, so we did
Got it.
over design it, yeah. And again, as a low maintenance thing, we normally do double. So normally we would say 600 gallons, double the dynamic water. Here, like, we went above 4 to be able to handle,
Good.
yeah.
So, and that's something we can, as Billy was saying, sort of put down on paper with, that the will satisfy the engineer. Well, I guess you have this, but is this, what's missing, John, from this, as far from the engineer's vantage point?
Well, I mean, it's not common that I would send just a basic landscaping plan to the engineer. I just have
Right.
concerns about it overflowing.
Right.
And that we can put something in the approval that, any resulting water, that overshoots this has to be addressed on Mr. Whitty's property.
Mhm.
And once again, it's just because I don't know how much water comes down that downspout. It's a fairly large roof.
No, it's just,
Part of the roof.
it's part of the, back porch. Water that's up, hits the back porch, goes into a gutter and down there.
So basically, this last page here, what we want to do is just build this out a little bit with stats. Is that right? With concrete numbers?
Well, I think we should add to the plan exactly where it's connecting up here. I see the existing wall, but I don't see the drain pipe. And we, like Billy said, we don't see the overflow or anything near here at all. So we could add some of those things.
Mhm.
The electrical work has to be done by a licensed electrician in Orange County, that I'm sure you're aware.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, that wouldn't be us because we're not licensed electricians.
Mhm.
Any other concerns or questions?
No, so we just need to, the next meeting is
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
First Monday in,
So the
no,
second?
third Monday of this month.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we would have to,
That's not Memorial Day or anything like that, is
Not
it?
yet.
Not yet.
But 10 days before the meeting, I believe, is this upcoming Friday.
Okay.
Typically, that's the way it kind of falls. And yeah, the
So-
meeting is the 19th and a plan should be submitted by the 9th,
by this
10
Friday.
days before the meeting.
Okay.
And then we can come in with the vote for approval. All right.
Is there
What's
anything
the
else
recommendation?
that maybe you want to see? I can give you whatever you want. Like, if I know,
Mhm.
like, hey, make sure you address this, make sure. Do you need a cutaway? Like, do you want to see cutaways? Like,
What is that?
well, you kind of went to the back page, right? Which is like, that's kind of a cutaway. If you go to the back here, which kind of explains like a cross section.
I see what you're saying.
Like, do you want a cutaway of this system so you can kind of see? Like,
Well, we have this generic one in the set, right?
Yeah.
That's for your generic.
Yes.
So, yeah, any drawing would be helpful. I'm an architect. Any drawing would help, help explain it and the engineer as well.
like, even like
So-
you're saying, like you're asking about, like I can show that culvert, how it relates to our basin.
Great.
And then you'll be like, oh, now we see how that's gonna work.
That's what John was asking for.
Right,
wasn't it?
but I don't, like, I didn't know, like, I could easily do that. And listen, it won't be like this, it'll just be a side view. And I'll show you some elevations and where the pipe comes in from the downspout and again, like, we know that downspout doesn't have a lot of water because otherwise it would have just created a huge divot, like right through.
Given that it's just hitting the ground.
It's just running on the ground, right? And so our thing was like, oh, this would be cool to incorporate this. And instead of it just running on the ground, let's run it. And now let's make this sustainable where we don't have to fill it with a hose. We'll catch that little bit of,
You can make use of the water and it's better water for the water.
right. And so we're recirculating that water. And then when we have a few days like this and the system is full, it would just overflow then into the existing. So I'll do a cutaway for you as well
Great.
and put the other items on here so you can see where they are.
I think you've given us everything I think we need to know about the plantings, which is fine.
Yep.
And we love those natives.
I hate the butterfly bush. That's not.
Not butterfly bush.
Yeah.
Butterfly weed.
Yeah, the weed is great. Butterfly bushes.
But the pickerel weed and the Lobelia cardinalis and these are all good things.
Yeah, they are.
We-
And I understand like what you guys are protecting. I can appreciate it. you
Well,
know.
it's not us, it's the mother nature. The bar here is so high, imitating nature is the most difficult thing to do. So it's,
But that's what we do. Like that's every single day. And listen, we don't build walls. We don't build patios. Garden State Koi every single day deals with water. That's all we do.
Right.
And if you ever stop, like we're right on Route 94 in Warwick, we have a beautiful facility there. We sell plants, fish and
Is it right in the center of?
It's on the Florida side of the village.
Okay.
So what they would call Florida. And we've done this for a long time. And so to build a brand that just does water, like people don't need this. This is like,
what you do is,
It
as I say, is great because there's so many neighborhoods in suburbia that don't have this Mother Nature, and you're bringing that, and that is a wonderful thing. That's the only problem here, that we have it. So you're bringing coals to Newcastle is the, I don't, that's the English expression.
And the thing you would be surprised by is one of our biggest demographics as a customer are people that live on lakes. And you would think like they have the water right there. But guess what? They want it closer.
Right.
They want to hear it. And I think in Rich's case, he wants his grandkids to be able to enjoy it. He wants Janet to be able to see it as she sits at her desk. And, I took a picture of my granddaughter last night playing in the water. She's a year and a half. And the fact that that kid is going to spend time there instead of in front of a screen, like that's
Maybe learning about sort of larval stages of
huge.
insect
It's a
life.
classroom. It absolutely is. And to think that one of your grandchildren could like take a liking to this, and that's the other reason we do, and we're so passionate about what we do.
Like to hear it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're gonna make the changes and we'll get these back to you.
Thank you very much.
Do we need, because it's a short week now too, so I just want to make sure I'm gonna send these to the right place.
Can we get email to Mr. Reddy? Email address?
He does, okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. I
Thank you all.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Good work. If something's wrong when I send it to you, because it'll be in the next day or two, just like if you don't get it.
I'll respond, that's received.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night, thank you. So item 4 on the, item 3 on the, item 4 now. Review of the fence law guidelines. So we just changed the guidelines. I'll read them out for the record. This is what I'm suggesting. It's basically the same, just adding some numbers. So the mesh should be a thin black honeycomb metal with approximate 1-inch openings and a clean line across the top with either a top wire or a thin top rail to prevent sagging and lessen wildlife entanglement. See image attached inside the village office. The supporting poles of matching black color must be thin in appearance, of metal, not wood, and no more than 8 foot tall. The installation should be professionally executed with the fencing pulled taut and rigid to prevent an untidy appearance. Ongoing repairs and maintenance are required to keep a clean, uniform look and rectify any sagging. Substantial plantings on both sides of the fence are strongly recommended to reduce the negative impact on wildlife, such as bird collisions and deer entanglement, be minimally visible, and blend into the topography and landscape background.
Beautiful. Very clear. That's a great enhancement.
Okay. So do we need to vote on that? Or? Yeah, we can vote on it. Yeah. I'd like a motion to approve the revised guidelines as part of the Village of Tuxedo Park Board of Architecture review, proposed guidelines for deer fencing. Do I have second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. And 5th item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We all get a chance to look at the minutes for last week, 2 weeks ago, and then which one was it, Desiree, that was?
April 21st.
And that was I was absent on that one, but I think that was an important meeting because it was addressing a violation of tree cutting on the and it was rectified. But I just want to highlight the fact that the property was on the ridgeline, and so when a property is on the ridgeline, 0 trees are allowed to be topped or removed without prior permission. And on the village website, if you put in the search ridgeline, up comes a map very clear in red where the properties are on ridgelines and where properties are also in green on the gateway overlay. So I encourage everybody to make sure they're aware of that before thinking about and obviously any concerns, just to consult with John Ledwith, the building inspector, and he can confirm that. So that was an added thing to those minutes. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April the 5th and April the
21st.
21st.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second, I can only half vote because I wasn't here on the fifth.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes approved. And time now, oh my
Look at
God,
that. Well
wow.
Mr. Chairman.
6:30.
30,
Very good.
no, 6:20, 6:29.
And
Like-
that covered a lot of ground in an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Would like to close
Yeah,
the
like a visitor
the
and-
meeting.
Yep.
Okay. You got that, Desiree? The meeting?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Excellent. Thank you.